Hello everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today we got a 328i BMW X-Drive. And we're going to put a CV axle shaft in the front here. So I'm going to go over how to replace that, probably step by step. Show you some tips and quick shortcuts, stuff like that. You are going to need an axle shaft nut socket, which I'm sure just a regular hobby mechanic doesn't have, but you're going to need, it's going to be a 36 millimeter with a 12 point. And I picked these up off Amazon probably a couple years ago. They're made by, was it Cowhawk? I think that's what that says. But they was under $30. I think they were like $28 or something like that. But I've used them several times. They've held up good because you don't use them that much anyway. So anyway, enough with that. Let's get this took apart. Okay, so let's remove the wheel, of course. Let's remove all 5 lug nuts. So next, we're going to remove this center axle nut right here. You don't have to have an impact. You can use your regular ratchet. Okay. Now, if you'll look here in the center of this axle that's sticking out here, we need to free this up from that hub. So what we'll do is we'll take, I'm just going to take a punch. Well, we could hit it here. This axle is going to be replaced, so we're not going to worry about damaging the threads. But if you was worrying about, we're going to reuse it, the axle for some reason, just use a punch and a hammer like this. Just going to try to drive that in here to where it starts moving freely. Looks like it's moving pretty free right there. Okay, next we're going to kind of loosen this brake hose up where it hooks onto this clip back here. Got better light here. There's a metal clip and it slides down through this bracket here and then keeps this brake line in place. So you want to grab a pair of pliers. I got some wire cutters here. I'm just trying to grab it. You have to get a screwdriver through the front part here. Pick or whatever you got. Pop that out. Pull it straight out like that. Now we're not going to take the brake caliper, the rotor. We're not taking any of that off. But we need to, let's see, while I'm up here, I think I can get the rest of the stuff from on the back side, give you a better shot. Okay, I'm on the back side of that. The rotor and stuff where I was standing before up here. Okay, we're going to need to disconnect the outer tie rod end. We'll have to take, it's got a harder pin in it right here. You'll have to remove it, bend these tabs out, slide it forward. We need to remove the nut for the outer tie rod end. I'm just using, I'm sure that's metric, but I grabbed this as 1 1/16. It'll work. You can use a wrench or however you want, whatever you want to use. Use the impact, kind of speed things up here a little bit. Make sure that's off. Want to save the nut. Now, we do not want to beat on top here on threads. We're going to take a hammer and we're going to hit it right here, right where my finger's at. And that thing will drop right out. Right, here's where I'm going to hit it at. I'm not going to hit it on the boot or anything like that. I'm not going to hit it on the tie rod in itself. Okay, next on the back side here, here's the axle shaft runs through. There's a nut right here and one right here. We need to take them nuts off. That's probably a 22 or a 7/8. So just go ahead, remove that one out. You can let this spin around where you get a better grip on it, get it loosened up, and just get them removed all the way off. Now we got both of them nuts removed. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a hammer and I'm going to hit exactly right here where my finger is pointing. Do not hit here, hit right here, and that's going to drop out. And then we'll get the other one because I got to move this camera here a little bit. Move it over here. You're right where I need to be. Oh, there went my light. Back up here. Okay, the next thing, we need to get this other lower control arm off, the front one here. Just get my camera there. We're going to hit it right here, right where my finger's at. We'll move this up out of the way. And I'll move this camera back over here. Get a yipes. I hit the thread. Now I have to repair a thread. If I can get from the back side here easier. It's kind of hard to get a good spot to hit it on. There it went. Just kind of nip that thread. Oh, not too bad. I think it'll be all right. If not, I'll just take a little file and repair them. So now we got all that loose. Let's drop this all back down. Okay, next we have to pull that axle shaft out of that knuckle. What we're going to do, we're going to push out on the whole thing right here. I'm pushing out on it. And then, of course, the thing is not freed up real good in here. We'll pull it out like that, push it. Grab my. Okay, you're going to have to remove. I've already got it removed, but it's this aluminum cover that bolts right in here with 6 bolts, 17 millimeter. Okay, we're going to need to separate the CV axle shaft from the transmission right there. It has a spring clip on the end of that shaft that's kind of got it locked in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my pry bar. I'll probably just put it on the end of the edge of this shaft like this. And I'm going to take my hammer and hit the end of it and jar that out of there. Now I've got the camera set on the outside, and you're gonna, once you get that disconnected from transmission, just pull this out. And okay, here's the new CV axle shaft. There's that spring clip on the end. Make sure it has one on it on your replacement unit, and it'll come with a new nut. So let's slide that back in place, and we're going to go right through here, straight into the transmission. Now we got to get them shafts lined up and kind of twist it around a little bit. You can feel it, and it'll slide on in. Now that's going to have to be seated in good. The best way I found to do that is these shafts. You don't want to pull this shaft all the way out. You'll disconnect it from the joint inside these boots. But you do have a little bit of spongy, kind of like a play right here. So you can use that almost like a slide hammer. See how I'm doing that? That's just kind of driving that shaft in. And that one's good and seated, but we'll double check it when we go under. Once that's in, you'll put your axle shaft back through your knuckle club like that. Okay, we're back under it here, and I'm just looking at my CV axle shaft and making sure that it's installed in, it's seated up good, and it looks just fine. So now we'll start putting our other stuff back on. And you want to watch this boot too when you go back and install it. Make sure it don't catch on anything and rip a hole in it. So now we'll just go ahead and install this lower arm on here. That in. Okay, next we'll put this, install this other side here, the other lower. Slide the nut on it and tighten these down. Tighten them down pretty good. Don't just try snugging them a little bit. Put some muscle into them. Tighten them up real good. In fact, use a little Loctite would even be better. So next we'll put the outer tie rod in back in. We get these all tightened down, get it tightened up, and a new garter key back in it. You may want to clean some of the old grease off. It's around it. that all cleaned up. However best you want it. Anyway, let me get them tightened up. So we've got all three of these nuts tightened up. Do not forget to put a Carter key in. I'll just bend it up over the top. Everybody has their own way of doing it. That's mine. I'll just bend that one up and I'll just knock that one down a little bit. Good to go. So now we want to button this stuff out here up. So we'll put our brake hose back in its little bracket and put our little horseshoe pin back in. I don't know if I can do this with one hand. It's just about there. I can tap that down with a hammer or something. New nut on out here. Down. Okay, push on the brake. Yeah, you want to have someone in there pushing on the brake while you're torquing this. Watch your fingers right here, okay? We'll tighten it down a little bit and then let me do it, okay? Okay, let me take over. I don't want you to get your fingers smashed, okay? Okay, when you get this nut on there and get it tightened down, you'll notice there's a couple of slots here in this axle, into this axle shaft. And then on this nut, there's a flange. This is the old nut. Maybe you can see where it's kind of flat right here. Flat right here. That's where they've knocked that flange down into them slots or these grooves into this shaft, and locks that nut in place where it don't spin off on you. So just take you which I've already got this one done, but just take your hammer and punch. Punch it down there. Come to the bottom. Bend that up into that slot. Let me show you here. Just like that. Now that nut can't spin off. Anyway, if this helped you out any at all, like and subscribe. Appreciate everyone watching, and have a good day.